Amid the chaos of the streets, a 12-year-old girl carries honor as her greatest treasure. When she witnesses a millionaire being pushed off a bridge, her instincts take over. Her act of bravery triggers a chain of events that exposes a network of corruption and violence. If you were touched by this beautiful story of resilience and love, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Continuing. The morning sun barely warmed the Chicago air as 12-year-old Lily Matthews emerged from her makeshift shelter beneath the Adams Street Bridge. 6 months had passed since her grandmother's heart had stopped beating, leaving Lily to navigate the unforgiving streets alone. The city, with its towering skyscrapers and endless streams of busy people, had become both her home and her battlefield. Unlike many children forced into similar circumstances, Lily refused to beg or steal. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind like a protective charm. "Poverty is no excuse to surrender your honor, little flower." The elderly woman who had raised Lily since infancy had instilled in her a fierce sense of dignity that even the harshest Chicago winter couldn't diminish. Lily gathered her few possessions, a worn backpack containing a change of clothes, a dog-eared copy of The Little Prince that her grandmother had given her, and a small metal box holding her most precious treasures, a faded photograph of her grandmother, a silver hairpin, and exactly $27.35 saved from her various jobs. Her day began like most others, collecting recyclables from dumpsters behind the luxury condominiums along the river, where residents discarded aluminum cans and glass bottles without a second thought. By mid-morning, she had filled 2 large bags with items to exchange for a few dollars at the recycling center on Wells Street. "Morning, Miss Lily," called Mr. Jenkins, the center's manager, as she pushed through the door. His kind eyes crinkled at the corners. "Got a good haul today?" "Yes, sir," she replied, straightening her shoulders. "These are from the Riverside buildings. The weekend parties always leave plenty behind." Mr. Jenkins weighed her collection and counted out $6.45. "You know," he said hesitantly, "my sister runs that youth shelter on Michigan Avenue. They've got warm beds, 3 meals a day. You could—" "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins," Lily interrupted politely but firmly. "I'm doing fine on my own." He nodded, respecting her decision as he always did. "At least take this," he said, handing her a paper bag containing a sandwich and an apple. "My lunch, but I'm not hungry today." They both knew it was a lie, but Lily accepted the offering with grace. Mr. Jenkins was one of the few adults who treated her with respect rather than pity or suspicion. After leaving the recycling center, Lily headed toward the financial district. The gleaming towers of glass and steel housed thousands of men and women in expensive suits who barely noticed the small girl offering to clean their car windows at traffic lights. Some waved her away impatiently. Others pretended not to see her at all, but a few would hand over $1 or 2 for her services. By late afternoon, Lily had earned nearly $15, a good day by her standards. She treated herself to a hot meal at a small diner, where the waitress, Maria, sometimes let her use the bathroom to wash up properly. "You look thin, Chiquita," Maria commented, sliding an extra piece of cornbread onto Lily's plate. "You sure you don't want me to call someone? My cousin works with social services. She could help find you a good family." "I had a good family," Lily replied quietly. "Just my grandma and me. But thank you." Maria sighed but didn't push further. She'd made the same offer dozens of times over the past months. As evening approached, Lily made her way to the Chicago Public Library. She had discovered that if she kept her backpack neat and her appearance as clean as possible, the librarians allowed her to spend hours reading in the children's section. Today, she immersed herself in a book about marine biology, fascinated by the complex ecosystems that existed beneath the water's surface. "We're closing in 15 minutes, sweetheart," announced Mrs. Abernathy, the elderly librarian who had taken a liking to Lily's quiet intelligence. "Thank you," Lily replied, carefully returning the book to its proper shelf. Unlike some of the other homeless children who occasionally wandered in, Lily treated the books with reverence, never dog-earing pages or leaving marks. "Before you go," Mrs. Abernathy said, glancing around to ensure no other staff members were watching, "there's a volunteer position opening up. Just 4 hours on Saturday mornings helping to shelve books and assist with the children's reading program. It comes with a small stipend." Lily's eyes widened. A regular job, even a small one, would be life-changing. "Do you think, would they hire someone like me?" The librarian's expression softened. "I've already recommended you. The library director knows you're between homes right now. But he's seen how respectful you are with the books and other patrons. You'd need to fill out some paperwork, though. I could help with that." For the first time that day, a genuine smile illuminated Lily's face. "I'd like that very much." "Thank you, Mrs. Abernathy." Outside, the evening air had grown chilly. Lily zipped her jacket, a cast-off from a community clothing drive, and headed toward her shelter beneath the bridge. She took a detour past the riverside, where the wealthy gathered at exclusive restaurants with panoramic views of the city skyline. From her vantage point across the water, Lily observed the glittering world that existed parallel to hers, but seemed as distant as the stars. Men in tailored suits and women draped in jewels laughed and clinked glasses, while servers hovered attentively nearby. Lily didn't envy them, not exactly. Her grandmother had taught her that wealth often came with its own kind of poverty, a poverty of spirit and connection. As she watched, a tall man in an expensive charcoal suit emerged from one of the restaurants. Even from a distance, Lily could tell he was important by the way others deferred to him. He walked with confidence toward the valet stand, checking his watch impatiently. Two other men followed him out, their conversation becoming increasingly heated as they approached the riverwalk. Something about their body language made Lily pause. The tall man was backing away slightly, his hands raised in a placating gesture. The other two men moved forward aggressively, backing him toward the river railing. Although their voices didn't carry across the water, the tension was unmistakable. Lily hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or find help. Before she could decide, one of the men grabbed the tall man's lapels and shoved him backward. His foot caught on the base of the railing, and with a desperate flailing of arms, he toppled over the edge and plunged into the dark, churning waters of the Chicago River. The two aggressors looked down for a moment, then hurriedly walked away, disappearing into the evening crowd. Without thinking twice, Lily dropped her backpack and raced along the shoreline. The river was dangerous, polluted and with strong currents that had claimed lives before. But Lily knew these waters. During summer months, when the city became unbearably hot, she and other street children would sometimes swim in the calmer sections, despite the risks. She kicked off her shoes and dove in. The cold hit her like a physical blow, driving the air from her lungs. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm her, but Lily forced herself to focus. The current was pulling downstream, and somewhere in that direction was a man who would drown without her help. Swimming with powerful strokes, Lily scanned the dark water. A splash and gurgle to her right caught her attention. The tall man was struggling weakly, his expensive suit waterlogged and dragging him down. His eyes were wide with terror as he fought to keep his head above water. "Stop fighting," Lily shouted, reaching his side. "Let me help you." His panicked thrashing nearly pushed her under, but Lily managed to position herself behind him, hooking one arm under his chin as her grandmother had taught her years ago. "Relax," she commanded, with the authority that belied her age. "I've got you." Slowly, fighting against both the current and the man's weight, Lily guided them toward the shore. Her muscles screamed with the effort, but she refused to give up. By the time they reached the riverbank, both were gasping for breath. Lily helped the man drag himself onto solid ground where he collapsed, coughing up river water. His once immaculate suit was ruined, his hair plastered to his head, but he was alive. "You," he managed between coughs, staring at the small, soaking wet girl before him. "You saved my life." Robert "Rob" Anderson, CEO of Anderson Innovations and one of Chicago's wealthiest entrepreneurs, couldn't tear his gaze away from his unlikely rescuer. The girl couldn't be more than 12 or 13, with tangled brown hair and clothes that had clearly seen better days, yet there was a dignity in her bearing that commanded respect. "Thank you," he said, his voice hoarse from coughing up river water. "I don't know how to—" "You should go to a hospital," Lily interrupted, already gathering her soaked shoes. "That water isn't clean and you swallowed a lot of it." Rob struggled to his feet, swaying slightly. "I'm Rob Anderson. What's your name?" "Lily," she replied simply, wringing water from her jacket. She didn't offer a last name or ask for further introduction. In her world, names weren't exchanged freely. "Lily," he repeated, "please let me help you. You're soaking wet and it's getting cold. My car is—" He patted his pockets, then groaned. "My phone and wallet are ruined." "There's a taxi stand 2 blocks that way," Lily pointed. "Tell them to bill the ride to your company or something." Rob was struck by her practical thinking. "Will you come with me? To the hospital, I mean. You are in that water too, and I'd like to make sure you're all right." Lily hesitated, suspicion flickering in her eyes. She'd learned early that offers of help often came with hidden costs. "I'm fine. I swim there sometimes." "Please," Rob insisted. "After what you did, at least let me get you some dry clothes and a hot meal." Something in his voice, perhaps the genuine concern or the lingering shock, made Lily nod reluctantly. "Just to the hospital entrance. Then I have to go." Together, they made their way to the taxi stand, drawing curious glances from passers-by. A well-dressed man, even in a ruined suit, walking beside a clearly homeless child, both of them dripping river water, was not a common sight in downtown Chicago. The taxi driver was hesitant until Rob explained who he was. "Anderson Innovations, 35th floor of the River Point Tower. Call my assistant, Jenny Caldwell, to confirm the fare if you need to." The name carried enough weight to overcome the driver's reservations about his soaking wet passengers. During the ride to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, Rob studied the girl beside him. Despite her bedraggled appearance, there was something remarkable about her, a self-possession that most adults never achieved. She sat straight, her gaze focused out the window, seemingly uncomfortable with his scrutiny. "How long have you been on the streets?" he asked finally. Lily's posture stiffened. "I'm not answering questions from strangers. I think pulling someone from a river earns you a first-name basis, at least," Rob said with a gentle smile. After a moment, Lily relented slightly. 6 months. "Since my grandmother became ill." Rob nodded, careful not to show pity. Something told him this girl would despise that. "Where do you stay?" "Around," she replied vaguely. "I manage." Before Rob could ask anything else, they arrived at the hospital. True to her word, Lily intended to leave him at the entrance, but a perceptive nurse immediately noticed her condition and insisted on checking her as well. "Both of you need to be examined," the nurse declared firmly. "River water is full of bacteria." While medical staff attended to Rob, Lily found herself whisked to a separate examination room. A kind-faced doctor named Dr. Elaine Parker checked her vitals and listened to her lungs. "You're a brave young lady," Dr. Parker commented. "Not many people would jump into that river to save a stranger." Lily shrugged. "I knew how to swim." "He didn't." "Well, you're remarkably healthy considering your circumstances," the doctor continued, choosing her words carefully. "But I am concerned about mild hypothermia. You should stay warm tonight. Is there someone I can call for you?" "No," Lily answered firmly. "I'm fine on my own." Dr. Parker's expression revealed her discomfort with the situation. "I'm obligated to contact social services when a minor comes in without a guardian." Fear flashed in Lily's eyes. "Please don't. I've been in foster homes before when my grandma was first sick. I won't go back." Before the doctor could respond, the door opened and Rob appeared, now dressed in hospital scrubs, his wet hair combed back neatly. "Dr. Parker," he greeted her, then turned to Lily. "Everything okay in here?" The doctor hesitated, her professional obligations warring with her compassion for the clearly frightened child. "Mr. Anderson, perhaps you could help clarify the situation. This young lady saved your life, I understand?" "She did," Rob confirmed, "and I'd like a few minutes alone with her if that's all right." After the doctor left, Rob sat in the chair beside Lily's examination bed. "They want to admit me overnight for observation," he explained. "Something about secondary drowning risks and monitoring for infection." "That's good," Lily said, already eyeing the door. "You should listen to them." "Lily," Rob said softly, "I know you don't want social services involved. I can help with that, but I need to know you have somewhere safe to go tonight." She bristled. "I've been taking care of myself for months. One swim in the river doesn't change that." "No, but saving a stranger's life might," he countered. "Look, I owe you, and I don't like owing people. Let me put you up in a hotel tonight. Clean bed, hot shower, room service. Tomorrow, we can figure out something more permanent. I don't need your charity." "It's not charity," Rob insisted. "It's payment for services rendered. Professional rescuers get paid, don't they? Consider it hazard pay." A reluctant smile tugged at Lily's lips. "You're pretty pushy for a guy who almost drowned." "Successful businessman," he corrected with a wink. "Pushy is in the job description." In the end, Lily agreed to the hotel room, but only after Rob promised not to contact authorities. He made arrangements with his assistant, Jenny, who arrived within the hour bearing fresh clothes for both of them and a look of barely concealed shock upon meeting Lily. "Mr. Anderson, the board has been calling non-stop," Jenny whispered, while Lily changed in the bathroom. "The Harrington meeting will have to wait," Rob finished firmly. "Tell Victor I had a medical emergency." Schedule something for next week. Jenny's eyes widened. But sir, the merger negotiations can wait, he repeated. This is more important. Once Lily emerged, dressed in new jeans and a sweater that hung loosely on her small frame, Rob's assistant escorted them to the Langham Hotel. Lily's jaw dropped at the opulent lobby with its crystal chandeliers and marble floors. One night, she reminded Rob as the elevator carried them to the 18th floor, then I'm going back to my life. Rob merely smiled, not bothering to argue. Yet, the suite was larger than any space Lily had ever had to herself, a spacious living room connected to a bedroom with a king-sized bed and a bathroom bigger than the library's reading nook, where she often spent her afternoons. Order anything you want from room service, Rob instructed as Jenny prepared to take him back to the hospital. I'll check on you tomorrow morning. After they left, Lily stood in the center of the luxurious room, feeling strangely small and out of place. Part of her wanted to flee back to the familiar discomfort of her makeshift shelter, where at least she understood the rules. Here everything felt foreign and temporary, a dream that would evaporate with the morning light. But the allure of a hot shower proved too powerful to resist. Lily spent nearly 30 minutes under the steaming water, watching months of grime disappear down the drain. Afterward, wrapped in a fluffy hotel robe, she cautiously approached the room service menu, her stomach growling at the descriptions of foods she hadn't tasted in months. She ordered conservatively a bowl of tomato soup, a grilled cheese sandwich, and a slice of chocolate cake, feeling guilty even for that much. When the food arrived, presented by a waiter who smiled kindly and didn't seem to judge her youth or circumstances, Lily savored each bite as if it might be her last taste of such luxury. Later, as she lay in the enormous bed, clean and full for the first time in longer than she could remember, Lily replayed the day's events in her mind. The man she had saved, Rob Anderson, was clearly wealthy and powerful. The way his assistant had jumped to fulfill his requests, the ease with which he'd secured this expensive hotel room, the deference the hospital staff had shown him, all pointed to someone accustomed to influence. Yet there had been something vulnerable in his eyes when he'd thanked her by the riverbank. Something that suggested Rob Anderson, for all his wealth, might be just as alone in his world as she was in hers. As sleep began to claim her, Lily wondered about the two men who had pushed Rob into the river. Their aggressive postures and the deliberate way they'd approached him suggested this was no random act. They had wanted to hurt him, perhaps even worse. In the morning, she decided, she would ask him about it, not out of curiosity, but because whatever trouble Rob Anderson was in might now involve her too. Anyone who had seen her pull him from the river would know she was a witness. And in Lily's experience, powerful men with enemies were dangerous people to be connected to. For tonight, though, she would enjoy this brief respite from survival. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges. Across town in his hospital room, Rob Anderson lay awake despite the sedatives the doctors had prescribed. His near-death experience had shaken him more than he cared to admit, but it wasn't the memory of cold water filling his lungs that kept him from sleep. It was the image of a small, solemn-faced girl diving into danger without hesitation to save a stranger's life, a girl who asked for nothing in return and seemed genuinely uncomfortable with his gratitude, a girl with nothing who had given everything. In his world of corporate takeovers and billion-dollar deals, such selflessness was virtually non-existent. Every interaction was a transaction, every relationship a strategic alliance. Rob had nearly forgotten what genuine human connection felt like. Tomorrow, he decided, he would find a way to help Lily, not just with money or material comforts, but with whatever she truly needed. He owed her that much and more. The morning sunlight streamed through the hotel's floor-to-ceiling windows, casting warm patterns across Lily's face. For a disorienting moment, she couldn't remember where she was. The softness beneath her was so unlike the flattened cardboard and salvaged blankets of her usual sleeping place. Then memory flooded back. The river, the rescue, the hospital, and Rob Anderson's insistence on this luxury hotel room. A gentle knock at the door pulled her fully awake. Lily scrambled out of bed, wrapping herself in the plush robe before cautiously approaching the door. "Who is it?" she called, one hand on the security chain. "Room service, miss," came the reply. "Mr. Anderson arranged for breakfast." Lily opened the door to find a smiling attendant with a covered tray. The aroma of fresh pastries, eggs, and coffee filled the room as he wheeled the cart to the small dining table by the window. "Is there anything else you need, miss?" he asked politely. "No, thank you," Lily replied, still uncomfortable with being served. After the attendant left, Lily surveyed the impressive spread. A fluffy omelette, crispy bacon, fresh fruit, pastries, orange juice, and even a small pot of hot chocolate rather than coffee, as if someone had guessed her preference. The thoughtfulness of this detail unsettled her almost as much as it pleased her. She had just finished eating when another knock came. This time it was Rob himself, looking remarkably recovered in a fresh suit, though faint shadows under his eyes suggested his hospital stay hadn't been entirely restful. "Good morning," he greeted her warmly. "I see breakfast arrived. I wasn't sure what you'd like, so I asked them to send a variety." "The hot chocolate was nice," Lily admitted, gesturing for him to enter. "How are you feeling?" "Better, thanks to you." Rob sat in the armchair across from her. "The doctors gave me antibiotics as a precaution, but it looks like I escaped any serious issues." An awkward silence stretched between them, two people from entirely different worlds, connected by one dramatic moment. "I need to talk to you about something important," Rob finally said, his expression growing serious. "Those men yesterday, the ones who pushed me into the river, they're dangerous people." Lily nodded, unsurprised. "I figured it wasn't an accident. Who are they?" "Business associates, technically." Rob's mouth twisted bitterly. "Victor Harrington and his security chief, Marcus Wells. Victor runs Harrington Enterprises. We were in merger negotiations, but I recently discovered some troubling information about their business practices." "What kind of information?" Lily asked, her natural caution making her wary of being drawn into adult conflicts. Rob hesitated, clearly calculating how much to share with the child. "Environmental violations, primarily. They've been dumping industrial waste into waterways near their manufacturing facilities. I have evidence, documents and water sample test results. When I confronted Victor privately and threatened to go public unless he cleaned up his operations, he didn't take it well. So they tried to hurt you," Lily concluded simply. "Yes. And now I'm concerned they might come after you too." Rob leaned forward, his expression grave. "You're a witness, Lily. You saw what happened. If they realize you pulled me from the river, they might see you as a threat." Lily absorbed this information with the calm practicality of someone accustomed to navigating dangers. "What do you think I should do?" "I have a vacation property in northern Michigan. My assistant could drive you there today. It's remote, peaceful, with a caretaker who could look after you until this situation is resolved." "You want me to run away and hide," Lily stated flatly. "I want you to be safe," Rob corrected. "These aren't people who play by normal rules." Lily stood and walked to the window, gazing out at the Chicago skyline, the city that for all its harshness was the only home she knew. The thought of fleeing to some unknown place, dependent on strangers, made her stomach clench with anxiety. "No," she said finally, turning to face Rob. "I'm not running. This is my city too. I know how to disappear here when I need to." "Lily, please be reasonable." "I am being reasonable," she interrupted. "I survived on these streets for 6 months without your help. I know places Victor Harrington would never think to look, people he'd never notice. Running away solves nothing, it just means the bad guys win." Rob studied her with a mixture of frustration and admiration. "You're remarkably stubborn for someone your age." "My grandma called it having backbone," Lily replied with the ghost of a smile. "She said it would serve me well in life." "Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman." "She was." Lily's expression softened momentarily with grief before hardening again with resolve. "Here's what I think we should do instead. You have evidence against these people, right? We need to get it to someone who can actually do something about it." Rob blinked, surprised by her shift from refusal to strategic planning. "I've been building a case to present to the Environmental Protection Agency and the FBI, but it's not quite complete. I need more documentation of specific violations." "Then let's get it," Lily said simply. "I can help." "How could you possibly—" "People don't see me," she explained. "Rich men like your enemies, they look right through kids like me. I'm invisible to them. I can go places, hear things that you can't." Rob shook his head firmly. "Absolutely not. I won't put you in danger." "I'm already in danger according to you," Lily countered. "At least this way I'm doing something about it instead of hiding." The determination in her young face gave Rob pause. This child had already demonstrated more courage than most adults he knew. Still, the thought of involving her in what could become a dangerous investigation troubled him deeply. "Let me think about this," he said finally. "In the meantime, I'd feel better if you stayed somewhere more secure than—" He hesitated, not wanting to offend her. Than my spot under the bridge. Lily finished for him, her expression wry. Fine, but not another hotel. Those are too easy to track. I have an apartment in Old Town that I keep for visiting executives, Rob offered. It's registered to a shell company, not directly to me or Anderson Innovations. Few people know about it. Lily considered this. Does it have security? Doorman, keycard access, and security cameras in all common areas. Okay, she agreed reluctantly, but only until we figure out what to do about Harrington. Rob nodded, relieved to have at least secured her agreement on this point. We should leave separately. My driver can take me first, then circle back for you in 30 minutes. Pack whatever you need from here. I need to get my backpack, Lily said. It has everything important to me. I left it near the river when I jumped in. Rob frowned. That's too risky. Tell me where exactly, and I'll send someone trustworthy to retrieve it. No one will recognize it as mine except me, Lily insisted. It's hidden in a drainage pipe about 20 yards from where you fell in. I always hide my things when I'm not carrying them. Impressed by her foresight, Rob reluctantly agreed to have his most trusted security consultant, a former police detective named James Morgan, retrieve the backpack. One more thing, Rob said as he prepared to leave. If we're going to work together on this, I need to know your full name and background. Not because I don't trust you, he added quickly, seeing her expression close, but because if something happens to either of us, I need to know who to contact or how to help you. Lily hesitated, years of protective secrecy warring with the practical necessity of trust. Finally she sighed. Matthews, Lily Matthews. My grandmother was Eleanor Matthews. She raised me after my parents had an accident when I was a baby. Lily's voice remained steady, reciting the facts with practiced detachment. We lived in an apartment on the south side until the building was sold to developers. The new rent was too high, so we moved to a smaller place. Then Grandma got sick. The hospital bills took everything we had after she... Lily swallowed hard. After she was gone, I stayed in our apartment until the landlord realized I was alone and called social services. I ran before they came. The simple, unembellished account of loss and survival struck Rob more powerfully than any emotional plea could have. This child had faced more hardship than most adults, yet maintained a dignity and moral compass that put his wealthy associates to shame. "Thank you for trusting me with that," he said quietly. "I promise I'll do everything I can to keep you safe." Lily nodded, neither seeking nor expecting further sympathy. "When will Mr. Morgan get my backpack?" "He'll retrieve it this afternoon. I'll have it waiting at the apartment." Rob handed her a business card with an address written on the back. "My private number is on there too. Memorize it, then destroy the card." After Rob left, Lily showered again, luxury she couldn't resist, and dressed in the new clothes Jenny had brought the previous day. The jeans were slightly too large, but the belt helped, and the sweater was wonderfully warm. She packed the hotel toiletries into her pockets, a street child's instinct for collecting useful resources too ingrained to ignore. As promised, 30 minutes later, a text message on the hotel room phone alerted her that a car was waiting. In the lobby, a discreet black sedan with tinted windows idled by the curb. The driver, a serious-faced woman who introduced herself only as Diane, opened the door without comment. As they drove through the city streets, Lily gazed out at the familiar landscape that had been both her prison and her kingdom these past months. Children played in Washington Park. Tourists photographed the Bean in Millennium Park. Business people hurried along the sidewalks clutching coffee cups, all unaware of the dramas unfolding around them. The Old Town apartment building was understated but clearly exclusive, with its limestone facade and polished brass fixtures. The doorman greeted Lily with professional courtesy, showing no surprise at her youth or obvious disconnect from the building's usual residents. The apartment itself was minimalist and impersonal, expensive furniture and artwork selected for impression rather than comfort. Still, it was clean, secure, and infinitely more luxurious than anywhere Lily had stayed since her grandmother's passing. "Mr. Anderson asked me to inform you that Mr. Morgan will deliver your backpack by 5 o'clock, Diane said, handing Lily a keycard. "The refrigerator has been stocked with food, and there's a tablet on the counter with Mr. Anderson's contact information preloaded. He'll join you for dinner at 7 to discuss next steps." Left alone in the silent apartment, Lily wandered from room to room, touching surfaces and looking out windows, feeling like an anthropologist studying an alien civilization. The sleek kitchen with its complicated coffee machine, The bathroom with its rainfall shower and heated floors, the bedroom with its king-sized bed and Egyptian cotton sheets, all represented a world as foreign to her as the moon. Yet as she explored, Lily felt not envy but curiosity. What would it be like to live surrounded by such comfort? Would it make a person happier, kinder? Or would it simply create a different kind of prison, one built of expectations and appearances? Her grandmother had often said that wealth was neither good nor bad in itself. It was what people did with it that mattered. Rob Anderson, for all his privilege, seemed genuinely concerned with doing the right thing, even at personal risk. That, Lily decided, was worth respecting. As afternoon faded toward evening, Lily settled on the living room sofa with a book from the apartment's small collection. The quiet luxury around her was pleasant, but temporary. Whatever came next, whether helping Rob gather evidence against Harrington or returning to her life on the streets, would be her choice. No one, not even well-meaning billionaires, would decide her path for her. Eleanor Matthews had raised her granddaughter to stand on her own 2 feet, and that was exactly what Lily intended to do, even if those feet were currently warming on a heated marble floor. Rob arrived precisely at 7 o'clock, carrying Lily's backpack and a folder tucked under his arm. Though still dressed in business attire, he had loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, giving him a slightly more approachable appearance. "Mr. Morgan found this right where you said it would be," he said, handing over the worn backpack. "Everything still inside?" Lily quickly inventoried her meager possessions, relief washing over her face when she confirmed that her book, the metal box with her treasures, and her spare clothes were all present. "Yes, everything's here. Thank you. Hungry?" Rob gestured toward the kitchen. "I thought we could order in. Any preferences?" "I'm not picky," Lily replied, though her eyes lit up when Rob mentioned pizza as an option. While they waited for the food, Rob spread the contents of his folder across the dining table, photographs, documents, and charts that represented months of quiet investigation into Harrington Enterprises. Victor Harrington inherited a struggling manufacturing company from his father 15 years ago, Rob explained. He turned it into a billion-dollar corporation by cutting corners wherever possible. His primary facilities are along the Illinois River and its tributaries. They produce industrial chemicals, fertilizers, and plastics. Lily studied a map showing the locations of Harrington's plants, each marked with a red pin. "And they're dumping waste into the water?" "Yes, but they're clever about it." Rob pointed to a series of water test results. "They do most of their illegal dumping during heavy rainstorms, when the increased water flow helps dilute the evidence. They also falsify their environmental compliance reports with doctored samples." "How did you find out?" "A whistleblower, a former environmental compliance officer named Sarah Williams, came to me 6 months ago with concerns. She had documentation but was afraid to go directly to authorities because of Harrington's political connections. I've been quietly gathering additional evidence since then." "Where is she now?" "This Sarah person?" Rob's expression darkened. "That's part of the problem. She disappeared 3 weeks ago. Her apartment was cleared out, her social media accounts deleted. It's like she never existed." Lily's eyes widened. "Do you think Harrington did something to her?" "I don't know," Rob admitted. "The police say there's no evidence of foul play, but the timing is suspicious. She had just secured more internal documents proving that Harrington executives knew about contamination issues and deliberately concealed them." The doorbell interrupted their conversation. Rob checked the security monitor before accepting delivery of their pizza. They ate in thoughtful silence for a few minutes, the gravity of the situation tempering even the pleasure of hot, cheesy pizza. "So why were you meeting with Harrington if you knew all this?" Lily finally asked, wiping her hands on a napkin. "Strategy," Rob explained. "I was negotiating to buy a controlling interest in his company. My plan was to gain inside access to more evidence, then clean up the operations from within. But he must have gotten suspicious when I started asking questions about their environmental compliance division. And that's when they tried to hurt you." "Yes, I confronted Victor privately after our last meeting. Told him I knew about the illegal dumping, and that I would expose him if he didn't agree to immediate remediation measures. He laughed it off, said I had no proof that would stand up in court." Rob's jaw tightened. "The next day, I received an anonymous message warning me to drop the investigation or face serious consequences. I ignored it. Then yesterday happened. Lily considered this information carefully. So what's your plan now?" "I need concrete, undeniable evidence, something the EPA and prosecutors can't ignore. Rob ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in his gesture. The problem is, most of what I have is circumstantial or came through Sarah, who's no longer available to testify. What about other employees? There must be someone else who knows what's happening. I've been trying to make contacts, but Harrington runs a tight ship. People are either loyal to him or too scared to talk. Lily nodded thoughtfully. You need someone on the inside, someone they wouldn't suspect. Exactly, but Rob stopped abruptly, recognizing the look in Lily's eyes. No, absolutely not. We've already discussed this. I'm not putting you in danger. You're not putting me anywhere, Lily countered. I'm offering to help. There are kids who hang around industrial areas, collecting scrap metal, running errands for workers. No one pays attention to them. Harrington's facilities have security, Lily. It's not that simple. Maybe not at the main buildings, but what about the places where they dump the waste? She pointed to the map. These spots along the river, do they have the same level of security? Rob hesitated. No, they're more remote. Some are just drainage pipes that lead from the facilities to the waterways. Then that's where we start, Lily declared. I can watch the outflow points, document when and what they're dumping. With what equipment, and how would you even get there? These sites are miles from the city. Lily's confidence faltered slightly, but her determination remained. You have resources. I have street smarts. Between us, we can figure it out. Before Rob could respond, his phone rang. He checked the screen, frowning. It's my assistant. I need to take this. While Rob spoke in low tones across the room, Lily returned to studying the map and documents. The complex web of corporations, subsidiaries, and technical terminology was daunting, but the basic facts were simple. Powerful people were poisoning the water for profit, and no one was stopping them. We may have another problem, Rob announced as he rejoined her. Jenny just heard from a contact in Harrington's office. They're accelerating their timeline for something called Operation Clearwater. It's scheduled for tomorrow night. What's Operation Clearwater? I don't know exactly, but based on the name and timing, I'm concerned they're planning a major waste disposal event, possibly their largest yet. Rob's expression was grim. If that's the case, we need evidence before it happens. Once those chemicals enter the water system, the damage will already be done. Lily straightened, a new sense of urgency in her posture. Then we definitely need to act now, not just for your sake or mine, but for everyone who uses that water. Rob studied her face, conflicted. The responsibility of involving a child in something potentially dangerous weighed heavily against the growing environmental threat. If, and I mean if, we do this, we do it my way, with proper planning, equipment, and backup. Fine, Lily agreed readily. What's your way? First, we need more information about Operation Clearwater, and I think I know someone who might help us get it. Rob pulled out his phone again, scrolling through contacts. Detective Maya Rodriguez. She works environmental crimes for the Chicago PD. She's been suspicious of Harrington for years, but hasn't been able to build a solid case. Can we trust her? I believe so. She has a reputation for integrity, and she's rejected Harrington's attempts to curry favor in the past. Rob dialed the number, putting the phone on speaker. After 3 rings, a brisk female voice answered. Rodriguez. Detective. It's Robert Anderson. We met last year at the River Conservation Benefit. Mr. Anderson. Her tone remained professional but warmed slightly. What can I do for you? I need to speak with you about Victor Harrington, privately and as soon as possible. A brief silence followed. That's an interesting coincidence. I've been wanting to speak with you about the same subject, especially after your swimming incident yesterday. Rob exchanged a surprised glance with Lily. You know about that? A witness reported seeing a man in a suit being pushed into the river near the Michigan Avenue Bridge. The description matched you, but when officers checked, you were already gone. Hospital records confirmed you were admitted for near drowning shortly after. I had no idea anyone reported it, Rob admitted. Most people don't want to get involved, Rodriguez replied. This witness was different. Homeless veteran who sleeps in the area. Said he saw the whole thing but was too far away to help. Also mentioned a young girl who pulled you out. Lily tensed, but remained silent. Detective, can we meet tonight? Rob asked urgently. I was going to suggest the same thing. There's a diner on West Madison Street called Earl's. Back booth. 45 minutes. After hanging up, Rob turned to Lily. This changes things. If Rodriguez already knows about the incident, she might be able to help protect you officially. I don't want police protection, Lily protested immediately. They'll just put me in the system, foster care. She might have other options, Rob suggested gently. At least hear what she has to say. Lily crossed her arms, clearly uncomfortable. I'll come to the meeting, but I'm not promising anything. 30 minutes later, they were in Rob's car, a nondescript Honda Accord rather than his usual luxury sedan, heading toward the west side. Rob had insisted Lily wear a hooded sweatshirt with the hood up, just in case Harrington had people watching for them. Earl's Diner was a 24-hour establishment with faded vinyl booths and the perpetual smell of coffee and grilled onions. Despite the late hour, several booths were occupied, shift workers having dinner, an elderly couple sharing pie, 2 college students with laptops spread before them. In the back booth, a woman in her early 40s with dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail sat facing the door. She wore no uniform, just jeans and a leather jacket, but her alert posture and the subtle bulge of a shoulder holster marked her as law enforcement. "Mr. Anderson?" she greeted Rob, then turned curious eyes to Lily. "And you must be the river rescuer." "This is Lily," Rob introduced her simply, sliding into the booth with Lily beside him. "Thank you for meeting us, Detective." "Maya, please." She gestured for a waitress, ordering coffee for herself and Rob, and asking Lily if she wanted anything. "Hot chocolate?" Lily requested tentatively. Once their drinks arrived and the waitress retreated, Maya leaned forward. "Let's talk about why Victor Harrington's men tried to drown you, Mr. Anderson." Rob glanced around the diner. "How secure is this location?" "Owned by my uncle. No recording devices except the security cameras, which feed to a system only he can access." Maya sipped her coffee. "And I swept for bugs when I arrived." "Old habits." Reassured, Rob outlined his investigation into Harrington's environmental violations, Sarah Williams's disappearance, and the ominous Operation Clearwater scheduled for the next evening. Maya listened without interruption, occasionally making notes in a small notebook. "This tracks with my own investigation," she confirmed when he finished. "Harrington's facilities show a pattern of suspicious activity during rainstorms and at night. We've conducted surprise inspections, but they always seem to know we're coming." "Inside information?" Rob suggested. "Almost certainly. Environmental enforcement is underfunded and vulnerable to political pressure. Harrington has friends in the governor's office and on the regulatory boards." Maya's frustration was evident. "That's why I've been building a case independently, but it's slow going without cooperating witnesses." "What about Sarah Williams?" Lily asked suddenly. "Have you looked for her?" Maya's gaze sharpened with interest. "The compliance officer? We interviewed her once, about 8 months ago, after an anonymous tip. She denied any knowledge of violations then." "She was scared," Rob explained. "It took her months to trust me enough to share what she knew. And now she's gone," Maya mused. "I can try to locate her, but without evidence of foul play, my options are limited." "What about Operation Clearwater?" Rob pressed. "Can you stop it?" Maya spread her hands in a gesture of frustrated limitation. "Based on what exactly? A rumor? I need probable cause for a warrant, and right now I don't have it." "So we get you proof," Lily interjected. "Tonight or tomorrow before they can dump more chemicals." Maya's eyebrows rose as she studied the young girl more carefully. "And how exactly would we do that?" Rob explained Lily's suggestion about monitoring the drainage points, elaborating with his own ideas about using remote cameras and water testing equipment. "If we can document the actual dumping in progress, would that be enough for you to act?" "If the evidence is solid, yes," Maya confirmed. "But this sounds dangerous, especially for a child." She glanced pointedly at Lily. "I'm not asking for permission," Lily stated firmly. "These people already tried to hurt Rob. They made this my problem when they did that. Besides, I live in this city too. I drink the water, swim in the river sometimes. If it's being poisoned, I want to help stop it." Maya studied her with a mixture of concern and admiration. "You're quite something, you know that? Most kids your age are worried about video games and social media, not environmental crimes." "Most kids my age have homes," Lily replied simply. The detective's expression softened with understanding. "You're homeless?" "Currently between permanent addresses," Lily answered with a dignity beyond her years. Maya glanced at Rob, who explained the arrangement with the Old Town apartment. "It's temporary," he added, "until we resolve this situation with Harrington." "I see." Maya tapped her pen against her notebook thoughtfully. "I might have a better solution, but first let's focus on getting this evidence. I have equipment we can use, water testing kits, night vision cameras, the works, part of a special grant for environmental enforcement. We'll need to pinpoint the most likely dumping locations, Rob said, pulling out his phone to show her the map. Based on water sample anomalies, these 3 outflows are the primary suspects. As the 3 huddled over maps and plans, an unlikely alliance took shape. The wealthy entrepreneur, the street-smart child, and the dedicated detective, each bringing different strengths to a common cause. By the time they left Earl's Diner 2 hours later, they had developed a surveillance strategy for the following day. Maya would provide the equipment and backup. Rob would supply transportation and additional resources, and Lily, despite both adults' reservations, would help monitor from a safe distance using her ability to blend into surroundings where an adult would stand out. "One last thing," Maya said as they prepared to part ways in the parking lot. "Lily, I have a sister who runs a youth advocacy center. She works with the courts to find alternatives to traditional foster care for kids in special circumstances. When this is over, I'd like you to meet her. No obligations, just a conversation." Lily hesitated, then nodded cautiously. "Maybe. If we stop Harrington first." "Fair enough," Maya smiled. "Get some rest, both of you. Tomorrow might be a long day." As they drove back to the apartment, Lily sat quietly, processing the evening's developments. Part of her still couldn't believe she'd gone from salvaging recyclables to planning environmental surveillance in the span of 2 days. Yet another part, the part that had learned to adapt quickly on the streets, was already preparing mentally for what lay ahead. "You okay?" Rob asked, glancing at her as they stopped at a traffic light. "Just thinking," Lily replied, "about what happens if this works. And what happens if it doesn't. If it works, Harrington faces federal charges, his company gets cleaned up and the river gets protected," Rob said. "If it doesn't," he hesitated, "we try another approach. I won't give up, and something tells me you won't either." Lily smiled slightly at that. "Grandma always said Matthew's women don't give up. It's not in our blood." "Sounds like a wise lady, your grandmother." "The wisest," Lily agreed softly. "She would have liked you, I think. She didn't trust rich people as a rule, but she made exceptions for those who used their money to help others." Rob felt oddly touched by this assessment. "I hope I prove worthy of that exception." Dawn broke over Chicago with a watercolor wash of pink and gold against a backdrop of gathering storm clouds. Lily stood at the apartment window, watching the city come alive beneath her. The weather forecast predicted heavy rain by evening, perfect conditions for Harrington's illegal dumping operation. The day passed in a blur of preparation. Maya arrived mid-morning with equipment, water testing kits sophisticated enough to detect specific chemical signatures, compact night vision cameras with weatherproof cases, and 3 sets of encrypted 2-way radios. "These are police-grade," she explained, demonstrating how to use the radios. "Short-range but secure. We'll each have one." Rob contributed his own resources, satellite maps of the target areas with detailed topography, portable power banks for the equipment, and 3 sets of rain gear. He had also arranged for a trusted driver to be on standby throughout the operation. Lily surprised both adults with her own contributions. On a large sheet of paper, she sketched detailed layouts of the riverside areas they would be monitoring. "How do you know these places so well?" Maya asked, impressed by the accuracy of Lily's drawings. "I've explored most of the riverfront," Lily explained. "When you live outside, you need to know good shelter spots for bad weather. These drainage culverts are dry except during heavy rain or when the factories are flushing their systems." She pointed to specific locations on her sketch. "This one has a maintenance platform inside the pipe about 10 feet in. You can sit there and stay dry even when water's flowing below. And this one has an access path that's hidden by bushes. Factory workers use it for smoke breaks, but it's empty at night." Rob and Maya exchanged impressed glances. This kind of ground-level intelligence would have taken them days to gather. "What about security?" Rob asked. "Cameras, guards, sensors?" "The main pipes just have no trespassing signs," Lily replied. "There's a security camera here." She pointed to one outflow closer to the Harrington facility, "but it's aimed at the access door, not the actual pipe opening, and it doesn't work anyway. The lens is covered in grime." By afternoon, they had formulated their plan. The 3 major outflow points would be monitored simultaneously, with Maya taking the one closest to the factory, Rob positioning himself at the middle location, and Lily observing the most distant outflow, which was deemed the safest. Each would set up cameras and water testing equipment, then maintain radio contact throughout the operation. "If you see anything suspicious, and I mean anything," Maya emphasized to Lily, "you radio immediately and pull back to the rendezvous point. No heroics, no exceptions. Understood?" "Understood," Lily agreed solemnly. As evening approached, the storm clouds that had been threatening all day finally delivered. Rain pattered against the windows, growing steadily heavier. Perfect cover for their operation, and for Harrington's. They changed into dark clothing and rain gear, packed their equipment into waterproof backpacks, and prepared to move out. The atmosphere was tense but focused, each of them aware of what was at stake. "Everyone clear on the emergency protocols," Rob confirmed as they gathered at the door. "If anything goes wrong, we meet at the backup location, the 24-hour diner on Harrison Street." Maya and Lily nodded. They had rehearsed the contingency plans repeatedly throughout the day. "Let's go stop some polluters," Maya said with grim determination. The rain had intensified to a steady downpour by the time Rob's driver dropped them at their separate insertion points along the river. They would approach their target locations on foot to avoid drawing attention. Lily splashed through puddles, her rain boots keeping her feet dry as she navigated the familiar riverside path. Despite the seriousness of the mission, she felt a strange exhilaration. For months she had been merely surviving, focused on making it through each day. Now she was doing something that mattered, something that could help protect the river and the people who depended on it. A designated outflow pipe was tucked beneath an old railway bridge, accessible via a narrow dirt path that wound between overgrown bushes. The rain had turned the path muddy, but Lily moved with the sure-footedness of someone who had traversed far worse terrain. Reaching the outflow, she quickly assessed the situation. The large concrete pipe protruded from an embankment, currently releasing only a trickle of rainwater into the river, perfect for setting up monitoring equipment. Following Maya's instructions, Lily secured the small camera to a rusted metal bracket inside the pipe's opening, angling it to capture any discharge. Next, she attached the water testing device just below the pipe's mouth, where it would automatically collect samples if the water flow increased. "Lily checking in," she whispered into her radio. "Equipment set at location 3. "Received," Maya's voice crackled back. "All quiet at location 1. "Same at location 2, Rob confirmed. "Now we wait." And wait, they did. Hours passed, the rain continuing to fall in sheets that turned the river's surface into a churning mosaic of ripples. Lily maintained her position in a small natural alcove near the pipe, protected somewhat from the rain by the bridge overhead. She was beginning to wonder if they had guessed wrong about Harrington's plans when her radio crackled to life. "Movement at location 1, Maya reported, her voice tense. 2 trucks arriving at the facility's rear entrance. Workers unloading large containers. "Any idea what's in them?" Rob asked. "Can't tell from here, but they're handling them carefully, wearing protective gear." Lily felt her heart rate accelerate. This could be it, the evidence they needed. "Wait," Maya continued, voice dropping to an urgent whisper. "Someone else is arriving, black SUV, tinted windows." A moment of silence followed, then, "It's Harrington himself, and Marcus Wells, his security chief. They're supervising personally," Rob noted. "This must be important. Or dangerous," Lily added quietly. For the next 30 minutes, they maintained radio silence, listening to the rain and watching their respective outflows. Lily's vigilance was rewarded when she noticed a subtle change in the water trickling from her pipe, a slight discoloration that hadn't been present before. "Something's happening at location 3, she reported. "Water's changing color, slightly yellowish." "Same at location 2, Rob confirmed. "Flow increasing too." "They've started," Maya said grimly. "I can see workers opening valves inside the facility, collecting samples now." Lily activated her water testing device as instructed, then snapped additional photos using her phone. The flow from the pipe was increasing steadily, carrying an oily sheen and a chemical smell that burned her nostrils even through the rain. "This doesn't look like normal rainwater runoff," she reported. "It's not," Maya confirmed. "Preliminary test showing high levels of industrial solvents, heavy metals. This is definitely illegal discharge." The documentation continued for nearly 20 minutes, their equipment gathering valuable evidence as Harrington's operation proceeded. Lily was about to report another observation when a new voice came through on Maya's radio, a police band frequency she was monitoring simultaneously. "All units be advised, we have reports of trespassers at the Harrington Enterprises riverfront property. Respond code 2. They made us, Maya said urgently. Someone must have spotted my camera. Everyone pack up and move to extraction points now. Lily quickly retrieved her camera, but left the water testing device running. It was designed to collect samples automatically and could be retrieved later. As she prepared to retreat, headlights appeared on the access road near her location. Vehicle approaching location 3, she whispered into her radio, ducking lower into the shadows. Can you identify? Rob asked tensely. Truck, heavy duty, moving slowly like they're searching for something. Or someone, Maya interjected. Get out of there, Lily. Now. Lily began moving away from the pipe, keeping to the darkest shadows beneath the bridge. The truck had stopped at the top of the embankment, its headlights sweeping across the area. A spotlight mounted on the truck's roof activated, creating a bright beam that cut through the rain. They've got spotlights, Lily reported, her voice barely audible. Where are you exactly? Rob demanded. Under the railway bridge, eastern side, moving toward extraction point, but they're between me and the path. The spotlight's beam passed dangerously close to her position. Lily pressed herself against the damp concrete of the bridge support, making herself as small as possible. I'm coming to you, Rob declared. Maya, can you create a diversion? Already on it, the detective replied. Triggering an automated alarm at location 1 in 30 seconds should draw their attention. True to her word, a distant wailing sound echoed across the water half a minute later. The truck's spotlight swung away from Lily's area, pointing toward the noise. Go now, Lily, Maya instructed. Stay low, move fast. Lily darted from her hiding place, splashing through puddles as she followed a secondary path that wound along the riverbank. The rain provided additional cover, reducing visibility for her pursuers. She had nearly reached the extraction point when a beam of light caught her peripheral vision. The truck had returned, its spotlight sweeping methodically along the river's edge. They're back, she whispered into her radio. I can't reach the road without being seen. Change of plans, Rob responded immediately. See the boat dock about 50 yards downstream from you. Lily peered through the rain. Yes? Get there. My driver's approaching by water. Small motorboat with green running lights. Without questioning how Rob had arranged a boat at such short notice, Lily changed direction, keeping to the tree line that separated the riverbank from the industrial access road. The dock was a simple wooden structure, extending about 20 feet into the water, used occasionally by maintenance crews. As she reached it, Lily heard the low rumble of an outboard motor. A small aluminum boat appeared through the curtain of rain, guided by a stocky man in a rain slicker. He cut the engine as he approached the dock, allowing the boat to glide alongside. You, Lily? He asked gruffly. She nodded, accepting his outstretched hand as he helped her aboard. Name's Frank. Mr. Anderson sent me. Hold tight now. The engine came to life again, and Frank guided the boat away from the dock, staying close to the opposite shoreline where shadows provided better concealment. Lily looked back to see the truck's spotlight still searching the area she had just left. Others need pickup too, she told Frank, raising her voice over the engine and rain. Got their locations programmed in, he assured her, tapping a GPS unit mounted to the dashboard. Mr. Anderson first, then the detective. True to his word, Frank navigated efficiently to Rob's extraction point, where they found him waiting beneath a concrete overhang. He climbed aboard with evident relief. Glad to see you made it, he told Lily, squeezing her shoulder briefly. Maya's next. But when they reached the detective's extraction point, she was nowhere to be seen. Detective Rodriguez, come in. Rob spoke urgently into his radio. Static answered him. Maya, we're at the pickup point, Lily tried. Where are you? After a tense moment, the radio crackled. Had to change position. Maya's voice came through, breathless. Security personnel on foot. I'm at the secondary point north side of the storage facility. Frank consulted his GPS, then adjusted course. 5 minutes, he estimated. Those 5 minutes stretched interminably as rain continued to pelt them, and distant flashlight beams indicated security teams still searching the shoreline. When they finally reached the secondary extraction point, a crumbling concrete jetty adjacent to an abandoned storage building, Maya was crouched behind a stack of rusted barrels. She splashed into ankle-deep water to reach the boat, hauling herself aboard with Rob's assistance. Go, she ordered Frank. They're not far behind me. The boat surged forward as Frank opened the throttle, carrying them swiftly away from the Harrington facility and into the main channel of the river. Only when the industrial area had faded into the rainy darkness behind them did the tension begin to ease. Everyone okay? Maya asked, pushing wet hair from her face. Rob and Lily nodded, both soaked but uninjured. Equipment? Maya continued. Got my camera, Lily reported. Left the water testing device running. Same, Rob confirmed. Everything's recording to encrypted cloud storage. Even if they find the devices, we've already secured the data. Maya checked her own equipment, nodding with satisfaction. I got something even better, she announced, holding up her phone. Video of Harrington himself supervising the valve opening, and audio. He explicitly ordered workers to dump it all and to make sure nothing can be traced. That's smoking gun evidence, Rob said, relief evident in his voice. Enough for search warrants at minimum, Maya agreed. Possibly enough for immediate arrest depending on what the water samples show? Lily leaned back against the side of the boat, exhaustion suddenly washing over her now that the immediate danger had passed. They had done it, gathered the evidence needed to stop Harrington's environmental crimes. What happens now? She asked. Now, Maya said, a smile breaking through her professional demeanor, we go dry off, analyze our evidence, and prepare to drop the hammer on Victor Harrington. Frank guided the boat toward a private dock on the north branch of the river, far from the Harrington facility. Rob's car was waiting nearby, the driver standing ready with large umbrellas despite the continuing downpour. As they transferred from boat to car, Lily glanced back at the river, dark, powerful, and resilient despite humanity's abuses. For the first time since her grandmother's passing, she felt something beyond mere survival. She felt purpose, and more surprisingly, she felt like part of a team. The rain continued to fall, washing the city clean as they drove away into the night. Three unlikely allies bound by courage, conviction, and the simple belief that even the most powerful wrongdoers could be held accountable. The next morning dawned clear and bright, the previous night's storm having washed the city clean. Lily woke in the guest bedroom of Maya's modest bungalow in Ravenswood, a last-minute change of plans after they'd decided the Old Town apartment might not be secure. The smell of coffee and bacon drew her to the kitchen, where Maya stood at the stove, while Rob sat at the table, laptop open before him, phone pressed to his ear. Both looked up as she entered. Morning, sleepyhead, Maya greeted her. Hungry? Lily nodded, sliding into a chair. Despite the previous night's excitement and danger, she had slept better than she had in months, comforted by the knowledge that she wasn't alone anymore. The lab results just came in, Rob announced, ending his call. The samples we collected contain elevated levels of benzene, toluene, and several heavy metals, all well above legal limits. Maya placed a plate of eggs and bacon in front of Lily before responding. That matches what my contact at the EPA found. They ran preliminary tests on the samples I submitted first thing this morning. It's enough for immediate action. So what's the plan? Lily asked between bites. The adults exchanged glances. I'm presenting everything to my captain and the district attorney in 1 hour, Maya explained. With the video evidence, sample results, and Sarah Williams' original documentation, they should authorize search warrants for all Harrington facilities immediately. And I've called an emergency board meeting at Anderson Innovations, Rob added. I'm presenting a formal resolution to withdraw from all negotiations with Harrington Enterprises and to publicly disclose the environmental violations we've documented. Lily nodded, processing this information. What about me? What should I do? Another significant look passed between the adults. That's something we need to discuss, Maya said gently. You've been incredibly brave and helpful, Lily, but now that we're moving to the legal phase of this operation, we need to consider your safety and well-being. You want me to disappear, Lily stated flatly, to go back to the streets and pretend none of this happened? Absolutely not, Rob responded immediately. But we do need to make sure you're protected. Harrington is a powerful man with significant resources. When he realizes what's happening, he'll look for ways to discredit the evidence against him, including discrediting witnesses, Maya added, which is why we think it's best if your involvement remains confidential for now. Lily considered this, pushing her eggs around her plate. So I just sit here and wait while you two handle everything? Not exactly, Maya said. Remember I mentioned my sister who runs the Youth Advocacy Center? She's coming over later this morning to meet you. Jessica has helped many kids in unique situations find alternatives to traditional foster care. And I've been making some calls as well, Rob interjected. There are several educational programs that might interest you, private schools with scholarship options, specialized mentorship opportunities. You're planning my whole future, Lily observed, her tone unreadable. Without asking what I want. Both adults had the grace to look slightly abashed. You're right, Maya acknowledged. We should ask. What do you want, Lily? The question hung in the air, weighty with possibility. Lily had spent so long focused on immediate survival that considering a future felt almost foreign. I want, she began slowly, to finish what we started, to make sure Harrington faces consequences, and then, she paused, gathering her thoughts, I want to go back to school. I was good at science before, she swallowed hard, before everything happened, and I want to help other kids like me, the ones everyone forgets about. Rob and Maya exchanged impressed glances. Those are excellent goals, Rob said warmly, and we'll help you achieve them. But first, let's focus on Harrington. An hour later, Maya left for police headquarters with their evidence securely backed up and duplicated. Rob departed shortly after for his board meeting, leaving Lily in the care of Maya's neighbor, a retired schoolteacher named Mrs. Chen, who asked no questions but supplied Lily with books, art supplies, and freshly baked cookies. The morning stretched into afternoon with no word from either adult. Lily tried to distract herself with reading, but found her attention wandering repeatedly to the window, watching for their return. Mrs. Chen noticed her restlessness, but merely offered gentle smiles and more cookies. When the doorbell finally rang around 3 o'clock, Lily jumped to her feet. Mrs. Chen answered the door, admitting not Maya or Rob, but a woman who resembled the detective enough to be clearly her sister. You must be Lily, Jessica Rodriguez greeted her warmly. I'm Jessica. Maya's told me a lot about you. Jessica had the same dark eyes as her sister, but where Maya's expression was often guarded and analytical, Jessica's radiated openness. She settled on the couch beside Lily, thanking Mrs. Chen as the older woman discreetly withdrew to the kitchen. Maya mentioned you're not keen on entering the traditional foster care system, Jessica began, her tone conversational rather than judgmental. I can understand that. The system has its flaws. Have you heard from Maya? Lily asked, more concerned about the Harrington situation than her own future at the moment. Or Rob? Jessica smiled knowingly. They're both very busy right now. Maya's with the district attorney, and Mr. Anderson is handling press inquiries after his board's announcement. What announcement? Anderson Innovations publicly severed all ties with Harrington Enterprises this morning, citing irreconcilable ethical differences and evidence of significant environmental violations. It's caused quite a stir in business circles. Lily felt a surge of pride knowing she had played a part in that decision. I've reviewed the unique circumstances, and I'd like to discuss some options that might work better for you than conventional foster placement. For the next hour, Jessica outlined several possibilities. A mentorship home program where Lily would live with a carefully selected family while maintaining significant autonomy. A specialized academic placement that included residential facilities, or a pilot program Jessica was developing, specifically for highly independent minors who demonstrated exceptional maturity. Now, Jessica continued, about your situation. The goal, Jessica explained, is to provide security, education, and support while respecting your capacity for self-determination. You've survived on your own for months, Lily. That requires intelligence and resilience most adults don't possess. Lily found herself warming to this woman who spoke to her as a person rather than a problem to be solved. They were still discussing options when Maya returned, looking tired but triumphant. We got the warrants, she announced without preamble. EPA officials and police are executing searches at all Harrington facilities as we speak, and her smile widened. They found Sarah Williams. The whistleblower. Lily sat up straighter. Is she okay? She's fine. Turns out she wasn't missing at all. She was in protective custody with the FBI. They've been building their own case against Harrington for months. Our evidence was the final piece they needed. Jessica squeezed her sister's shoulder. Congratulations, that's huge. It gets better, Maya continued, her excitement palpable. Victor Harrington himself was just taken into custody. Attempted murder charges for what happened to Rob, plus multiple federal environmental violations. We did it, Lily whispered, the reality of their success sinking in. We really did it. We did, Maya confirmed, sitting beside her. And it wouldn't have happened without you, Lily. The doorbell rang again, and this time it was Rob who entered, carrying a large portfolio case and looking both exhausted and exhilarated. Have you told her? He asked Maya, who nodded. Harrington's in custody. His company's stock is in freefall and the EPA is conducting a full investigation, Rob summarized. It's everything we hoped for. Almost everything, Maya corrected. There's still the matter of Lily's future. Rob set his portfolio on the coffee table. That's actually why I'm here. I have a proposal. He opened the portfolio, revealing architectural renderings of a campus-like facility with multiple buildings surrounded by green space. For the past 6 months, I've been developing plans for a foundation focused on environmental education and urban youth development, he explained. The Anderson Foundation for Environmental Leadership. I was planning to launch it next year, but recent events have convinced me to accelerate the timeline. The adults watched as Lily studied the drawings with intense concentration. The campus will include residential facilities for youth who demonstrate exceptional potential, but lack traditional support systems, Rob continued. Educational programs focused on environmental science, sustainability, and civic leadership, community outreach initiatives, and, he paused meaningfully, a special emphasis on involving young people in finding solutions to environmental challenges affecting their own communities. It's beautiful, Lily said softly, tracing the outline of a glass-walled building labeled Innovation Center. The foundation needs a youth advisor, Rob said carefully. Someone with first-hand experience of the challenges facing children in urban environments. Someone with courage, intelligence, and a strong moral compass. Lily looked up, understanding dawning in her eyes. You want me? If you're interested, Rob confirmed. The position would include full educational support, residential accommodation on campus once it's built, and a genuine voice in shaping the foundation's priorities. Jessica leaned forward. This could work perfectly with the independent minor program I mentioned. Legally, we could establish a guardianship arrangement with the foundation itself, serving as institutional guardian, with appropriate adult supervision, but significant self-determination rights for Lily. What do you think? Maya asked Lily gently. It's your decision. Lily stared at the architectural plans, emotions warring within her. Part of her, the fiercely independent part that had kept her alive on the streets, was suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true, but another part, the part that remembered her grandmother's dreams for her future, recognized an extraordinary opportunity. I'd have a say in how it works, she asked finally. Not just a show, but real input. Absolutely, Rob assured her. Your perspective is precisely what the foundation needs to avoid becoming just another well-intentioned but disconnected charitable endeavor. Lily took a deep breath. Then yes, I'm interested. The relief on all 3 adults' faces was palpable. There's one more thing, Rob added, reaching into his jacket pocket. Something I've been saving for the right moment. He withdrew a small business card and handed it to Lily. She turned it over, confused by what appeared to be a library card, until she read the name printed on it. Eleanor Matthews. My grandmother's library card, she whispered, fingers trembling slightly. How did you... After you told me her name, I made some inquiries, Rob explained gently. Chicago Public Library records showed she was a regular patron at the Lincoln Park branch. When I explained the situation to the head librarian, she remembered your grandmother well, said she always borrowed books on science and nature, often mentioning her bright granddaughter who shared her interests. Tears welled in Lily's eyes, the first she had allowed herself since the day her grandmother had slipped away in a sterile hospital room. The librarian had kept the card, hoping you might come in someday, Rob continued softly. She asked me to tell you that your grandmother would be proud of you. I have to say I agree completely. Lily clutched the card to her chest, overwhelmed by this tangible connection to the woman who had raised her with such love and principle. For 6 months, she had locked away her grief, focusing only on survival. Now surrounded by people who had become unlikely allies, and perhaps even friends, she finally felt safe enough to remember, and to mourn. Maya moved to sit beside her, placing a gentle arm around Lily's shoulders as silent tears tracked down the girl's face. Jessica quietly handed her a tissue. Rob simply waited, understanding that some moments required nothing but presence and patience. When Lily had composed herself, she straightened her shoulders in a gesture that had become familiar to them all, the physical manifestation of her remarkable resilience. When do we start? She asked, wiping away the last of her tears. We already have, Rob smiled. But tomorrow we make it official. As evening approached, The atmosphere in Maya's home transformed from professional planning to something warmer. Jessica stayed for dinner, bringing out a side of Maya that Lily hadn't seen before, teasing and sisterly rather than detective serious. Rob ordered pizza for everyone and Mrs. Chen joined them, bringing homemade spring rolls that Lily declared were the best she'd ever tasted. For the first time since her grandmother's passing, Lily found herself part of something that felt remarkably like family. Not by blood or legal decree, but by choice and circumstance, a tapestry of connections woven from courage, compassion, and shared purpose. Later, as she prepared for bed in Maya's guest room, Lily carefully placed her grandmother's library card on the nightstand. From somewhere in the house, she could hear the murmur of adult voices still discussing plans, possibilities, and practicalities. The sound was comforting rather than exclusionary, evidence that people were working to create a future for her, with her. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, formal statements to the authorities about the river incident, paperwork for Jessica's program, preliminary planning sessions for the foundation. But for tonight, Lily allowed herself to simply exist in this moment of safety and potential. As she drifted toward sleep, Lily imagined her grandmother's voice, gentle but firm as always. See, little flower. Honor finds its way back to you when you need it most. 1 year later, the summer sun glinted off the Chicago River, its waters flowing cleaner than they had in decades. Lily Matthews stood at the railing of a pedestrian bridge, watching a family of ducks glide beneath her. At 13, she still carried the watchful alertness of someone who had known true hardship, but there was a new lightness to her now, a teenager beginning to emerge from the prematurely aged child of a year ago. "Ready for the big reveal?" Rob Anderson asked, joining her at the railing. At 42, the CEO had changed as well. Gone was the sleek corporate appearance. Today he wore khakis and a button-down shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking more like a university professor than a billionaire entrepreneur. "As ready as I'll ever be," Lily replied with a small smile. "Is the press really necessary?" "Unfortunately, yes, donors and partners need visibility." Rob grimaced apologetically. "But Maya and Jessica will run interference. You only need to say a few words, and only if you want to." Lily nodded, appreciating his sensitivity to her discomfort with publicity. Though she had embraced her role as youth advisor to the Anderson Foundation, she preferred working behind the scenes. They walked together toward the foundation's newly completed campus, 5 acres of former industrial land transformed into an urban oasis of learning and community engagement. The main building, with its living roof and solar array, stood as a testament to sustainable architecture. Surrounding it were community gardens, outdoor classrooms, and a research center focused on urban water quality. "Ms. Matthews, Mr. Anderson." A young reporter approached, notebook in hand. "Can you comment on today's opening and the Foundation's first-year achievements?" Rob glanced at Lily, who gave a slight nod. "We're proud of what's been accomplished," he began, "but the real achievement belongs to the 300 young people who have participated in our programs this year. They've conducted water quality monitoring at 15 sites across the city, developed 6 new environmental education initiatives, and contributed to policy proposals that were recently adopted by the City Council. And, Ms. Matthews," the reporter turned to Lily, "as the inspiration behind the foundation, what are you most proud of?" Lily considered the question carefully. "The Youth Environmental Leadership Program," she answered, "especially the component that creates opportunities for homeless and housing-insecure teens. 25 young people who were living on the streets now have stable housing, educational support, and meaningful work protecting the environment." The reporter jotted notes, clearly impressed. "And all this started because you saved Mr. Anderson from drowning. That's quite a story." "It's a story about seeing problems clearly and having the courage to address them," Lily replied diplomatically, using the messaging they had prepared. "Whether those problems are environmental hazards or children without support systems." More reporters gathered as they approached the campus entrance, where a small crowd had assembled for the official opening ceremony. Lily spotted familiar faces, Maya in a dress uniform rather than her usual detective attire, Jessica chatting with a group of teens from the leadership program, Mrs. Chen distributing programs to attendees, and even Mr. Jenkins from the recycling center, looking somewhat uncomfortable in a tie but beaming with pride. The ceremony itself was mercifully brief. Rob spoke about the Foundation's mission. Maya addressed the successful prosecution of Victor Harrington, now serving 5 years for environmental crimes and attempted murder, and a city councilwoman presented a proclamation declaring the day Urban Environmental Action Day in Chicago. When it was Lily's turn to cut the ceremonial ribbon, she stepped forward with the quiet confidence she had developed over the past year. The applause that followed was genuinely enthusiastic, rather than merely polite. Many in attendance knew the remarkable story behind the foundation's creation, though few knew all the details. "Well done," Rob murmured as they moved inside for the reception. "One more hour of mingling, then we can escape to the real celebration." The real celebration awaited them at Maya's house, now a familiar second home to Lily, who split her time between the detective's bungalow and the foundation's residential facility. Jessica had masterfully navigated the legal complexities of Lily's situation, creating a unique guardianship arrangement that gave her stability without sacrificing her independence. As promised, the formal reception concluded after an hour of handshakes, photographs, and carefully navigated questions. Lily, Rob, and their closest allies slipped away to Maya's backyard, where a more intimate gathering had been prepared. "To the Anderson Foundation," Maya proposed, raising a glass of lemonade once everyone had settled around the picnic table, "and to the unlikely partnership that made it possible, and to Victor Harrington," Rob added with a wry smile, "who's now funding environmental cleanup through court-ordered restitution payments. Sometimes justice does prevail." Laughter rippled through the small group. The past year had seen remarkable changes. Harrington Enterprises had been restructured under new leadership with stringent environmental compliance measures. The Chicago River Restoration Project had gained national attention, and most importantly to those gathered, hundreds of young lives had been touched by the Foundation's programs. As afternoon mellowed into evening, Lily found herself sitting on Maya's porch steps beside Mrs. Abernathy, the librarian who had once offered her a volunteer position at the Chicago Public Library. "Your grandmother would be so proud," the elderly woman said softly, patting Lily's hand. "Eleanor always said you were destined for important things." "I still miss her," Lily admitted. "Every day." "Of course you do, dear. That never goes away entirely." Mrs. Abernathy smiled gently. "But look at how you've honored her memory. Not just surviving, but creating something meaningful, something that helps others." Inside the house, Rob was showing Maya and Jessica the plans for the Foundation's next phase, a scholarship program for environmental studies and an expansion of the Youth Leadership Initiative to 3 additional cities. "Lily's insights have been invaluable," he explained, pointing to specific program elements. "She identified gaps in our approach that none of our adult advisors noticed." "Not surprising," Jessica observed. "She experiences the world differently than we do. That's exactly why your foundation is succeeding where other well-funded initiatives have failed. You're listening to the people you're trying to help. A revolutionary concept," Maya added dryly, earning chuckles from her companions. Outside, twilight was gathering. Fireflies began to appear in Maya's small garden, their intermittent glow reminiscent of stars. Lily watched them with quiet appreciation, remembering nights by the river when such simple beauty had been her only comfort. "You know what I've been thinking about lately?" she asked Mrs. Abernathy. "How one small decision can change everything." "How so, dear?" "If I hadn't been by the river that exact evening, if I hadn't decided to help a stranger in trouble, if Rob hadn't decided to investigate Harrington, if Maya hadn't believed us." Lily shook her head in wonder. "So many moments where things could have gone differently." "Life's tapestry is woven from such moments," the librarian agreed. "The trick is recognizing them when they come." The back door opened, and Rob emerged with Maya and Jessica, carrying plates of cake for the impromptu celebration. "There you are," Rob said, handing Lily a generous slice. "We were just discussing the new Riverside monitoring program. We'd like you to lead the youth team if you're interested. 20 teens, 5 monitoring sites, real scientific research," Maya added. "The EPA is providing equipment and training. With proper supervision, of course," Jessica hastened to add, ever the advocate for appropriate youth protections. "I'd like that," Lily said, accepting both the cake and the responsibility. As darkness settled fully, the small gathering continued their celebration, not just of the Foundation's official opening, but of the remarkable journey that had brought them together. They were an unlikely family formed through extraordinary circumstances: a street-smart orphan, a wealthy executive, a dedicated detective, a youth advocate, a librarian, and a growing circle of others whose lives had been touched by their collaboration. Later, as the party wound down and guests began to depart, Rob found Lily sitting alone on the porch swing, gazing at the night sky. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, joining her. "I was thinking about ripples," she replied, "how one action spreads outward, affecting things far beyond what you can see." Rob nodded thoughtfully. "Like when you jumped into the river to save a stranger." "Exactly. I never imagined where that would lead." She turned to him, her expression earnest. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't been there that night?" "Sometimes," Rob admitted. "But I'm more interested in what happens next." "Next?" "The ripples are still spreading, Lily. 300 young people have gone through our programs this year. Each of them will influence others. Some will become scientists, educators, community leaders. The impact multiplies exponentially." He smiled warmly. "And it all started because you refused to look away when someone needed help." Lily considered this, feeling both humbled and inspired by the thought. "My grandmother used to say that the measure of a person isn't what they have, but what they do with what they have." "A wise woman, your grandmother." "The wisest," Lily agreed, her standard response now tinged with peace rather than pain. The following morning, Lily rose early. It was Saturday, a day for river monitoring with the youth team she now led. 10 teenagers, all formerly homeless or at risk, would meet her at the Foundation campus to collect water samples, record observations, and upload data to the citywide environmental monitoring system. As she prepared for the day, Lily caught her reflection in the mirror. The face looking back at her was still young but carried a quiet assurance that had been hard-won. No longer merely surviving, she was thriving, and helping others do the same. The Chicago River flowed cleaner now, thanks in part to her actions. Victor Harrington's illegal dumping operation had been just the beginning. The investigation had uncovered similar violations by other companies, leading to a comprehensive enforcement initiative by state and federal agencies. But beyond the environmental impact, Lily took greatest pride in the changes she witnessed in the young people she worked with. Children and teens who had been overlooked, forgotten, or dismissed were discovering their voices and their value. Like her, they were transforming from invisible to essential, their unique perspectives and experiences recognized as vital to solving the challenges facing their communities. Arriving at the Foundation campus, Lily found her team already assembling their equipment. Some had been with the program since its inception, others were newer, still carrying the wariness of those accustomed to disappointment. Lily recognized that wariness, had worn it herself not so long ago, and knew that consistent support and genuine respect were the only remedies. "Morning, everyone," she greeted them. "Ready to check on our river?" Nods and murmured affirmations followed as they gathered their sampling kits, notebooks, and tablets. Together they moved toward the riverfront, a small but determined band of young environmental stewards. As they reached the monitoring site, ironically not far from where Lily had pulled Rob from the water a year earlier, one of the newer participants, a quiet 11-year-old named Zach, fell into step beside her. "Miss Matthews," he asked hesitantly, "is it true what they say? That you used to live under a bridge and then saved a billionaire and now you run this whole program?" Lily smiled, recognizing the hunger for hope in his question. "Parts of that are true. I did live on the streets for a while after my grandmother passed, and I did help Mr. Anderson when he was in trouble. But I don't run everything. I just help make sure kids like us have a voice in how things work." "Kids like us," Zach repeated, seeming to find comfort in the phrase. "Do you think, could I maybe lead a team someday too?" Looking at the boy, bright-eyed despite the hardships evident in his too thin frame and too old eyes, Lily saw echoes of herself from a year ago. The same determination, the same potential waiting to be recognized. "Absolutely," she assured him. "That's exactly how this is supposed to work. Today you learn from me, tomorrow you teach someone else. That's how ripples spread." "Ripples?" Zach looked confused. "I'll explain while we work," Lily promised, handing him a sampling container. "It's all about how small actions can lead to big changes, just like how the health of this river affects everyone in Chicago, even people who never come near the water." As the team spread out along the riverbank, performing their well-practiced water quality tests and observations, Lily felt a profound sense of rightness. This was where she belonged, not despite her experiences but because of them. The hardships she had endured had given her insights no classroom could provide, just as her grandmother had always told her. From her vantage point on the pedestrian bridge, Lily could see the gleaming towers of downtown Chicago on one horizon and the foundation's sustainable campus on the other, different worlds that she now moved between with increasing confidence. Below, the river flowed onward, cleaner and healthier than it had been in generations, yet still with work to be done. Like the river, Lily's story continued to flow, carrying forward the values her grandmother had instilled in her: dignity, perseverance, and the courage to act when action was needed. What had begun as a desperate dive into dangerous waters had become a current of positive change, touching countless lives beyond her own. As she rejoined her team, guiding them through their scientific protocols with patience and encouragement, Lily Matthews, once invisible, now influential, embodied the truth her grandmother had taught her long ago: that true wealth lay not in possessions, but in purpose, and that even the smallest ripple could in time transform an entire ecosystem. And somewhere, Lily was certain, Eleanor Matthews was watching with pride.